that's great. So anyone who
Yeah.
is listening that is local to the greater Seattle area, or if you're visiting from out of town and you're interested,
Mhm.
then definitely check
Yeah.
out Seattle Film Society. Um, any social media or website that they could check out?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, everything's under seattlefilmsociety.com. So you can look us up there. But then you can also look up our Instagram, 2,600 followers and growing. That's at Seattle Film Society. We're on Letterboxd. We don't keep it updated, but we are on Letterboxd, and we're the biggest thing is that we're in the process of bringing on some new people to kind of, because again, it's just been, by and large, it's been very successful, and I think like we're all very proud of that. We just like we're now bringing on new people so we can continue to grow and continue to build. So that's been our big challenge this year, is like adding how to bring in new people. We're very excited about what we've got coming up.
Oh, well, sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
So, as an independent filmmaker, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced? I know we talked about earlier with budgets and finances and all of that. But outside of what what anyone would obviously think of, I guess what are some the biggest personal challenges that you've had to navigate through as an independent filmmaker?
I mean, it's tough because I think there's certainly a lot of challenges. I think maybe the biggest one is as as a filmmaker, especially doing it at the level that I'm doing at the scale and scope that I'm doing it at, it is, you have to be really dedicated to the work. You have to really, really love it. Because it's really hard all of the time. And I don't mean that as like a deterrent. I think like that was something that another a film critic I admire talked about early on, or wrote a piece about when I was early on in my career, is that you really have to love because um, it's so daunting. Mike Birbiglia does an incredible bit about delusion that I used to listen to a lot when I was really young, and has really stuck with me over the years. And he talks about like the idea of when you're starting out as a comedian for his purposes, you're getting up there and you're just like sucking all the time. Like every time you get up there, you just suck, and you have to keep telling yourself it's going relatively well. Because if you didn't tell yourself that, then you wouldn't keep doing it. And I think so much of like having a career in the arts and having a career where it's a long shot that you'll get to do the things you dream of, in general, really is based in telling yourself, oh, it's actually going really well. It's going pretty well, and I think within that too, I think something that's so critical is setting reasonable goals for yourself. And I think that sounds like I'm saying don't dream big, but I think big dreams are made up of tiny steps. You're always, and the goal, Rome wasn't built in a day, so to speak, and you really have to like take tiny steps. You have to, one each day, like for writing, they always tell you to write every day. I don't write every day, but the goal in saying that is to make sure you're prioritizing your writing, make sure you're prioritizing the thing that you say is important to you. And so I think when you're starting out and so much of what you're doing is based in just trying to get a little bit of momentum going so you can make the next short film next weekend with your friends or whatever, um, it is really based on just taking small steps towards that goal. Asking yourself, what is the one thing I can do today that will make me better for tomorrow? Um, and I think that was something that took me a really long time to learn. I think that's really it can be a really hard thing to learn, and it can be really hard to not feel discouraged because the movie that made me want to make movies, The Dark Knight, is like this huge like Michael Mann-esque epic of it's like a morality play and all these kinds of things. And I remember being young and being like, I want to make that. And then I tried to make that and I was like, why didn't I make that? Why is it so hard? And like, you have to you have to work your way up to things, and you have to be okay with sucking and failing and being willing to look at that failure and say, why didn't it work? And then figure out how to like not only improve on that, but improve on it in a way that prioritizes the thing that you are most interested in. Because I think it's good to chase your heroes, but at the end of the day, you're never going to be your heroes. I'm never going to be Christopher Nolan, I'm never
Mhm.
going to be Jane Campion or anyone like that. I think at the end of the day, you just have to be okay with being who you are and trying to improve who that person is as an artist. Um, and that's getting to that point is an enormous challenge. Just getting to the point of like being okay with you're never going to be your heroes, and the best thing you can do is like just take steps forward every day because it's very easy to like feel discouraged and give up. And I mean, I think about it all the time.
Is that something you'd say that you wish you knew before you went into film, or is there anything else that you ended up finding out when you made your first short film as a writer director and you're like, oh man, I didn't know this, and now my eyes have been opened, and if anybody were to come with me
Yeah.
asking for advice, this is what I would tell them.
I mean, yeah, I think I'd probably expand on that too to say that I mean, if there's one thing I really wish I knew I'd known early on in my career, it's just, how to make a sustainable sacrifice. Because again, like so much of the work you do when you're starting out as a filmmaker, you're paying for all your short films yourself. You're taking on all these like these very big risks, and you're often doing
Mhm.
it alone. And knowing how to take on those risks in a way that is sustainable for you at the point you're at in your life, and understanding that kind of balance between the professional and the personal, and the way those things kind of play off each other. I think that's definitely the thing I wish I would have known. Excuse me. Early on, because when I committed to this, when I like really decided, okay, I'm gonna make movies, I just dove into it. I was like, I don't care. I will be poor. I will be, I will go hungry. I will do anything it takes to make movies. All I want to do is make movies. It's the only thing I care about. And I've made it work and my friends have supported me, but it has been really hard and it has come at times great personal cost. And had I known this, I don't know. I don't know if I would have done it, but at the same time, like I think it would have been possible to roll the dice a little smarter. So I think like if there's anything I wish I would have known before I started, it's just how to like make those sustainable sacrifices, which are things that like I know how to do now. But when I was starting out, I mean, you couldn't have told me. It's sort of this catch 22 of what do you wish you knew? And like if you told me that when I was, 25 and deciding to do this, I would have been like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway.
It's like when you're 20, you don't really care. You're just like, no,
Yeah,
I got like, my whole life ahead of me. I can do whatever.
exactly. I'll figure that part out later. And I think that's something I'm in my 30s now. I turned 32 in May. I think that's something now that I'm like, I have a better understanding of is just being like, well, it is really hard, but I'm gonna keep doing it. But I have to find a way to like continue to make that like small steps of forward progress every single day without like without biting off too much, so to speak.
It's interesting how perspectives change the older you get.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's good. I mean, because I'd also like it makes you cautious. In my opinion, it makes you cautious in a way that I think is ultimately very beneficial. I mean, I think again, the idea of being a director or anything or a producer like that, or being in a position of power, like a position of power isn't just like it's not a big stick to wave around. You hold responsibility to a bunch of people, like in
Mhm.
a in a perfect world, like, I say I'm directing like a big $100 million movie, there's like thousands of people that are relying on me. And that is not a responsibility that anyone should take lightly because, I want to make sure that I see my role as a director very much as one of service. Like, yes, I'm there to like make the movie and all that, but at the same time, I'm there to serve the material. And as long as I'm serving the material, I also want to make sure that I am, making sure my crew who are probably working for or who are working for me are getting home to see their families on time. I want to make sure that like the people that I'm working with are taken care of, and that the film is coming in under budget and all this kind of stuff. Because again, at the end of the day, like it's an enormous responsibility, and I think you have to be cautious with that because when you're not cautious with that, that's when, mistakes happen and, bad things happen that we are fun to read about. I love hearing about the making of Apocalypse Now as much as anyone, but like I would hate to have been like a PA on that set. That would have been awful. Like, you know?
Oh my gosh, you should there's a book on the making of Casablanca which is very interesting.
Oh yeah.
You should check it out. I don't know,
Okay,
have you
what's it called?
it's oh it's just called The Making of Casablanca.
Okay.
That's what it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
I was listening to the audiobook of it on Audible
Mm-hmm.
and it's yeah, and yeah, so The Making of Casablanca, Bogart, Bergman, and World War II.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
it
I'll
is
check it out.
it's by Elgene Harmetz.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, if you read the audiobook, the guy who narrated it did a really good job.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would recommend
Yeah,
that.
and I mean the making of films is always interesting, but I mean so often, you hear about these classic films and it's like you hear about what a disaster it was making it, and I would be just mortified if like my film, even if it was like a masterpiece, I would be mortified if it was like, oh, it was a masterpiece, but the making of it was hell. Like that's awful. Like that means I like kept people from their families and made their lives hard. I would never want that, Like I want my people talk about like when David Lynch passed, that was one of the things that came out is that like oftentimes like people loved working with David Lynch because he was so respectful of their time and their energy and those sorts of things. And his films were disturbing or however you feel about them. Um, but at the end of the day, like when he was making them, he was respectful of their time. He was a very giving collaborator, and that's really what I aspire to be. I really aspire to be, when I die, when I'm no longer around and they have my funeral, I would hope that, people say that, he was a really, really wonderful person to collaborate with. He was very caring and very giving, and I feel like he got my best work out of me.
Yeah, that's like the best way to be remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, we both know how volatile and unpredictable this
Yes.
industry is.
Yes.
So, what has your entire journey taught you about persistence and motivation and creativity in the film world? And I'm sure you've faced a lot of ups and downs. So, what keeps you moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't want to be all like grind set mindset about it, but you do have to be really, driven and tenacious and relentless, to keep doing this. You know, again, like going to film school might give you a leg up, but you still have to do the work. And you have to really love doing the work. I think the work at the end of the day, like that's really all you're gonna have. I could go out and win an Oscar, but like an Oscar is just a kind of a signifier for, a quality of work or whatever, like and so many people win Oscars and then like, their work goes downhill or whatever. So at the end of the day, like really what you have to prioritize is the work. And you have to prioritize, you have to be willing to like give everything to that. And I think within that too, I mean, creativity has so much of that relentlessness really is there to protect the creativity. Um, uh, I have a day job, and I will do my writing on Tuesdays. And on those Tuesdays, I am locked into like, what can I do today to like really protect my creativity? What can I do to like protect the mindset that I'm gonna need to have, to protect the like little bits of energy that I can save throughout the day so that I can use that later in the evening so I can write for a chunk of time. And I think like so much of how you create as a working class artist is about finding ways to protect that and to be relentless about how you protect that. Um, there's this really great David Fincher anecdote that I think of a lot, that I'm also gonna butcher, but he gave this like speech at a college, where he talked about like if he was a teacher, and if he was a teacher at that film school, the number one thing he would teach the students is how to pitch their ideas while someone is repeatedly telling them to shut up, because like that's so much of what the film industry is like. If you're coming to someone and being like, "Hey, will you give me $1 million to make this movie?" And they're like, "No, why would I do that?" And you're having to sell them, and and that's the battle over and over and over again. You're constantly having to fight for your ideas, and you have to like demand that your ideas be taken seriously, demand that people take you seriously, demand all these sorts of things, because you're always fighting for space. And that's, I think, where a lot of the relentlessness comes in, is that you're constantly telling people that your idea is good and worth making, while they're telling you not to do it. Before we started the Film Society, I was at a festival and I was talking with a programmer at Sundance, and this programmer, this is before we'd started the Film Society. I'd had some idea about starting it. And I was talking to this person who ran a film festival about starting the Film Society, and they just flat out told me, don't do it. It's a terrible idea. The festival that he ran, like someone wanted to quit every year and they had to talk him out of it. And he just made it sound like it was the worst idea possible. And then as soon as I came home from that film festival, I came home and started the Film Society anyway. And it's been really successful, and it's hard. It's very hard work. I'm not denying that.
Mhm.
But you have to really be willing to look at that, acknowledge the feeling that like the thing you're doing is silly, or it's a long shot, or it's impossible, or whatever, or it's a bad idea, and say,
Mhm.
no, it's actually a good idea because I care about it, and I'm going to make sure that it is the thing that it should be. And I think that's so much of just like being creative and being persistent, is just doing the thing anyways, even when someone tells you not to.
No, that's fantastic. No,
Yeah.
it really truly is having thick skin in a way,
Yeah.
and really just listen to your own voice. I mean, other people are gonna say so many so many different things to you to really pull you down, but you at the end of the day, you kind of do have to listen to what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's really great inspiration. Very inspiring. It's a very inspiring story for, for anybody who um wants to do something similar or start something similar, and,
Yeah.
all they're hearing is no, 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 but
Yeah.
this is encouraging.
Yeah, and I mean, also to that point, I think you just have to like, you can't wait for a yes, because no one's going to give you a yes, you know. Ultimately, like at the end of the day, like if you're waiting for someone else to give you the yes to do this creative thing you want to do, or to start a business, or to do some other thing, like if you were thinking about it over and over again, this is a barometer I have for myself. If
Mhm,
it's an idea that I just keep coming back to, then I'm gonna try it in some
mhm,
form, because at the end of the day, like it's stuck with me to the point where I am convinced I have to do it. Something about it is stuck in my brain, and to me, if it's stuck in your brain and you keep thinking about it, you should just go do it, or give it a chance, like try it, because who knows? Like it might work. It might be something you might end up being something you use in your life. It might be something you really take a liking to. Like, I think I think you have to be the person to tell yourself yes.
Hmm.
If and assume that most people might be encouraging, they might not go on the journey with you, but as long as you were always willing to tell yourself yes, when other people are telling you no, I think like that's speaking strictly of creative work here, obviously. I think like that's always a good policy to have, I'd say.
Yes, and also very important to mention, speaking strictly of creative work.
Yes, strictly creative work here. Want to be very clear about that.
Uh,
I'm like rattling off all this inspirational stuff, and I'm like, oh, I should qualify this.
yeah, here are the things that are eligible and what's not.
Yeah. At the end of this, we'll add a disclaimer that just says these are the things, these are the specific applications.
So for someone who wants to break into writing, directing, producing, especially within the regional market, and I know you've given so much great advice throughout this entire conversation we've been having, but is there anything in particular that you would any advice that you would give someone?
Yeah. Well, my first advice would be to come to a Seattle Film Society event. Um, we would love to have you. We have an event on the 27th. I don't know when this is going up, but we have an event on September 27th. We have events on October. Ooh, I'm looking at my calendar right now to confirm. We have events on October 2nd, 16th, and 30th. We encourage you to come out. Other than that, though, I think really the advice is just to start doing it. And the most important thing that you can do when you're wanting to write and direct is to learn what you care about as a writer, as a director. And I think the only way you really can learn how to do that is to direct, is to, make those opportunities for yourself. When I was PAing on sets, I mean, I very quickly realized, I was never going to give someone a water bottle well enough for them to say, "Hey, do you want to direct the next scene?" Like that never, that doesn't happen. You have to like give those opportunities to yourself. So much of like a career in the arts really is just about saying yes to yourself and to the opportunities that you want to give yourself, and not waiting for other people to give you those opportunities. And so I would say honestly, really just doing it, and also being very reflective about your
Mhm.
work, being very honest, being brutally honest, and surrounding yourself with people who are going to be brutally honest about your work. Something that I prioritized very quickly when I moved back to Seattle is I have a text chat with some friends that I call the Brain Trust, and it's just a group of friends that whenever I have a new script that I want to read, I text them and I say, "Hey, this day at my apartment, come over. We'll have snacks, we'll have food. We're gonna read my script, and then I want your opinions." And they're friends that don't work in film. They're friends that aren't at all involved in the uh, they're like maybe involved in the arts, but they're really not involved in filmmaking or storytelling or anything like that. And I just have them read the script and I take notes and then we sit and we talk about the script, we talk about the feedback, and I listen to their feedback and I take it seriously because at the end of the day, like those are the people who are also going to be watching my movie, who are going to be consuming the thing that I make.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the most valuable thing you can learn how to do in life, but specifically as a filmmaker, specifically as an artist, is learn how to accept criticism and feedback. Because it doesn't mean that someone is mean to you. It doesn't mean that someone doesn't like you. Going back to the Mike Birbiglia thing I mentioned earlier, I mean, he taught early on in my career. I mean, I remember hearing an anecdote where he talked about doing the same thing, which is where I got the idea from. And he just brought all his friends together and he took all their notes because ultimately your friends are looking out for you and they want to help you make the thing as good as it can be. So I think as far as like breaking into writing and directing, I mean, just doing it and then being willing to accept the fact that the thing you made isn't perfect,
Hmm.
or might not communicate what you wanted to communicate, or might not be at the level that you want it to be at, and doing the work to get it to that point. Like being willing to continue doing that work is really important. So,
So, on to the very last question.
pièce de résistance.
Uh, what do you hope audiences and aspiring filmmakers take away from your journey and from your body of work? And also, what do you have next going on? You did mention a
Yes.
feature.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I'm writing my first feature now. I've written features before, but this is the first one that I'm like, I am going to make this feature film. So my plan is to spend the next 2 to 3 years like working on that. Like that's honestly it. Like I'm gonna spend next year getting the script in shape, because the only like I would never go into production without a script that I didn't love and feel ready to make. My plan is to spend the next year getting the script in shape. The year after that, I'll probably be raising financing for it. I'm, trying to raise a fairly significant amount of money for it. And then hopefully after that, we'll shoot it and, take it to festivals and so on and so forth. So we'll kind of see how that shakes out. But that's the next big thing for me. I mean, I'm working on that and I'm pretty locked in on that. As far as what I hope people take from, my journey and my body of work, I mean, I really just hope that they have a response to it. I know that sounds really simple, but like I think the worst insult to me would be if someone watched something and shrugged. I would just hate that. Because
Hmm.
I put a lot of time and thought and energy into the work. And not everything's going to be for everyone, obviously, but like, I would hope that they engage with the work, the ideas, the stories, the characters, and anything but ambivalence, really. If I think if I happened to like walk out of a bar and I heard two people arguing about a movie I made, that would be better than winning an Oscar to me. I think because it means that like people are really engaging with the work, and I think
Yeah.
that's all I really care about.
It's like
Yeah,
love my movie or hate my movie, but don't be indifferent about it.
yeah. Don't be indifferent about it. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I think again, for as far as aspiring filmmakers go, I mean, I hope that they know that they're just not alone. Um, it's really hard, especially as a filmmaker when you're starting out, because there's not the like instant feedback of theater or comedy or anything like that. You're making a film and putting it out into the world, and you don't know what people's response to it is ultimately.
Hmm.
Um, and I think in a way that's really isolating. But I think like as directors, it's really up, especially, and this is something we really try and do at the film site, is we really go out of our way to like, try and build that community, to try and like build a community of directors and filmmakers and actors, people who are, looking for ways to connect with other artists and other types of filmmakers, because it's really hard out there, and no one does it alone in the first place, and no one should have to do it alone. So, I just hope that they know they're not alone, and that the only way to get better is to not quit. It's okay to be discouraged as long as it doesn't stop you. So,
Fantastic. So
yeah.
you are inspiring the next generation of filmmakers right here.
Oh man, my fingers will cross. Who knows?
I really think you are, and I really hope so. That this does this conversation does reach as many aspiring filmmakers as possible because you gave some really great advice. And so yeah, I mean, all I can say is like thank you so much again for coming on. The the experiences that you've gained throughout all these years, throughout all your work, it really does. I mean, I mentioned this earlier. It's very much apparent in your work, and it's very much apparent in how you lead on set. And you make it a very comfortable and fun environment. And I can say that from firsthand experience. You make it a very fun and comfortable environment. And I would absolutely like hands down, like I would be like, yes, I would totally work with Marcus again. Because he's like he made it comfortable on set. That's like the biggest thing for any actor to say is like I felt comfortable. And especially sharing ideas, and you're so super collaborative. So anybody would be like, lucky to work with you. And I really do hope you know that. I don't know how many people say that to you, and if it's said often or not, but yeah, I really do hope that you know that, and everybody who has worked with you, he really does enjoy working with you. So yeah, and if anybody has like wants to follow you on Instagram, or any social media, or watch your work, I did mention your YouTube channel, Marcus Baker Film, and if anyone has any questions, is there a way that they could reach out to you, or are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, thank you so much for the kind words. I didn't want to interrupt.
It was
Thank
just
you
like,
so.
yeah, keep it coming, keep it
No, no,
coming.
no, no. You can keep going. No, no, no. I didn't hear that one. Can you say that again?
So yeah, Marcus.
No, thank you so much. That's so nice of you to say. And and I would say again, I mean, I loved working with you as well. And I mean, you were such a wonderful collaborator on set, and it was so much fun to like build the world of that film with you and to kind of see how you took the baton and ran with it in your own way. And I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your kind words, and it was wonderful working with you as well. So,
Yeah, keep it
but
coming.
as far as
Keep it coming.
yeah, as far as ways to reach me, um I have a newsletter. You can access that through my website, which is Marcus Baker Film. Everything for me is under Marcus Baker Film. That's my Instagram, my Blue Sky, which I'm recently getting into. My newsletter is under, it's called Artist and Sitter, and I write about filmmaking. I write about my own relationships to films. I write about updates on projects and things like that. And that's monthly. It's free to subscribe. And if you're feeling so inclined, it's $7 a month if you want to throw me $7. But yeah, so that I think that's everything. I'm on Letterboxd, but I don't really push my Letterboxd. If you find me, you can follow me.
Awesome, great. You heard it right here. Well,
Yeah.
again, thank you so much. And I am so bad at signing off. I suck at signing off, but like
You gotta get a sign off phrase.
I know
You gotta
I,
get
I
a keep it crispy or something like that.
keep it crispy.
That's Pete Holmes's one. You can't use that one.
I also I for some reason I don't like it. It just sounds very I
No,
don't
I'm
know.
saying you gotta get your own version of keep it crispy. You gotta have it's called coffee break combo. So I don't know,
Yeah.
something related to coffee.
Yeah, okay. So our coffee break is now over. We got to get back to
Yeah.
work.
I love that. That's good. That's fun. Then you gotta have a judge's gavel, like the coffee break is over.
It's over.
There you go.
All
Well, thank you
right.
so much for having me. This is great.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Coffee Break Convos with Jessica. Keep learning, keep growing, and don't be afraid to write your own story. And we will see you next time for another great conversation. Be sure to like and subscribe to be notified of new videos every week, and comment below on what you learned from my conversation with Marcus today. And I will see you next time. Bye.